Hi everyone, I'm Ksenia Chernaya and this is Pro Health Channel. Today I want to talk about foods that kill female health. Of course, they are dangerous not only for women but also for men. But since women are more focused on their appearance and their health, we will focus on them. Watch this video to the end because the consumption of these foods leads not only to the deterioration of their appearance but also to the development of serious diseases, which in 5-7 years can lead to grave consequences. And the first type of food is, of course, added sugar. Sugar is the worst evil. There is no such thing as healthy sugar, a little bit of sugar, a teaspoon tip of sugar. Sugar is evil. A great number of studies confirm that sugar causes cancer, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, atherosclerosis, insulin resistance and obesity, and polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now we will talk about the connection between sugar and women's health. There are a few main points here. First, sugar consumption leads to premature aging and premature wrinkles. When you have too much sugar in your diet, it means your blood glucose levels is always increased. Increased glucose level means that there is a continuous glycation process in your body. It's the so-called protein saccharification. If you do not see this at age of 25, then at 35, when the natural aging process begins, it will clearly manifest on your face. The next point, a negative impact of sugar on women's health, is a condition called insulin resistance. It's when consistently high blood glucose levels leads to chronically high blood insulin levels. This condition is associated with other diseases, which include polycystic ovarian syndrome, varicose veins, and excessive edema. Why? Because insulin is the hormone that triggers other steroid hormones, particularly testosterone. In its turn, it triggers acne, red spots on the body, papilloma, and pigmentation, and most importantly, polycystic ovarian syndrome. For example, take a skinny fat body type. It's when a girl is thin and she thinks that she can eat sugar, that she can eat buns, bars, chocolate, and she can get away with it. That's actually not true. You still increase the level of glucose and insulin, which undermines the hormonal profile. In this case, tiny waist is not something that we strive for. If we look at the body consumption, we will see that there is much more fat tissue than muscle mass. And we have to remember that fat tissue, especially visceral fat that covers our internal organs, is sort of like an additional organ of inflammation. It's the tissue which accumulates all the toxins. According to the World Health Organization, complete elimination of added sugar from the diet does not lead to any negative consequences. Please, do not confuse sugar and glucose. Glucose is what our body needs and what our brain needs, but to a lesser extent than fats. But glucose is the end product of the breakdown of all carbohydrates. These include grains, vegetables, fruits, berries, and herbs. There is no reason to add synthetic sugar. Remember, sugar comes in many different forms. Regular sugar, cane sugar, beet sugar, coconut sugar, barley malt, maltodextrin, all fructose syrups including agave syrup and topinambaur syrup, but we will talk about sweeteners too. The second killer of women's health is alcohol. There is no major difference between vodka, cognac and red wine. First of all, yes, alcohol can be different, but in any case it contains ethyl alcohol and the breakdown of products of ethyl alcohol cannot be useful in any way, even if it's dry red wine. This is the first point. The second point is sugar. Most alcohol contains sugar. We already know how bad it is. Alcohol damages women's health because it affects the liver. It's the liver that removes toxins from our body. But beyond that, the liver is responsible for the metabolism of steroid hormones, particularly estrogen and progesterone. So if you have any problems with menstrual cycle, premenstrual syndrome, myomers, endometriosis, fibrostic myopathy, everything that is related to hormone profile, you should remove alcohol. Why? Because you disturb your liver function, and liver is responsible for the metabolism of the steroid hormones. Moreover, alcohol, ethanol in particular, affects our microflora. What are the consequences? Microflora disturbance leads to irritation of the intestinal mucosa, so vitamins, minerals, proteins, fats and carbohydrates that you get from food are poorly absorbed. Then you start complaining, my hair is falling out, my nails are deteriorating, my skin is bad. The reason is that all the nutrients are simply not being absorbed because you have damaged the gut microflora. A little bit of alcohol may not be beneficial but more likely not harmful to a relatively healthy person. Yes, some alcohol contains resveratrol, like red wine, but resveratrol is found in greens, berries, and fruits, and it's probably better to eat fruit than to drink red wine. It's just a little perk to make you feel a little bit better about drinking alcohol. The third product that is bad for women's health is milk. Yes, there is a lot of debates over milk, much controversy, but we'll focus on those points when you can clearly trace it in terms of the quality of your skin and the condition of your body. What is milk? First of all, it's fat, second, it's protein, and third, it's the milk sugar lactose. This is the main problem with milk. 70% of the population has either primary or secondary lactase deficiency. This means that either early or closer to the age of 30, your body stops producing lactase enzyme, which digests the milk sugar lactose, and this in turn leads to acne, to the growth of potentially pathogenic flora, and thus development of thrush, candidiasis, ongoing cystitis, and tonsillitis. All this is also due to the consumption of dairy products and fermented milk. If in doubt, the best thing to do is to get tested for lactase deficiency and find out your genotype. You have to understand that what you eat has a direct impact on your appearance and your health. Coming back to milk, I want to mention that milk and dairy products have an insulin-like growth factor. This means that when you eat dairy and fermented milk products, the level of insulin in the blood rises, which in turn again leads to an increase in steroid hormones, which leads to acne as well as edema due to the growth hormone aldosterone. So if you don't understand the reason why you have puffy face in the morning, eliminate all dairy products for 1 or 2 weeks and check out the results. Dear girls, one of the worst recommendations for weight loss is to drink kefir before bed. You will never lose weight if you drink kefir at night. The reason is simple: you raise your insulin levels before bedtime, and in order to lose weight, your insulin levels before bedtime must go down. Moving on, the fourth product is sweeteners. They range from caloric sweetness to non-caloric sweetness. Fructose belongs to the caloric ones, and this includes syrups so loved by many people. Agave syrup, topinamba syrup, simply added fructose, and many people think that this is healthy. In fact, it's harmful for the simple reason that fructose is not produced into energy in our bodies. That's what the liver does. When you consume high fructose syrups, the first thing you do is load up your liver, and we already know the connection of liver health and hormonal profile. Besides, over the past 15-20 years, a large number of reliable long-term studies have been carried out that prove the connection between the sweeteners and impaired carbohydrate and fat metabolism, especially in the long term. What does this mean? It means that you are cheating your brain. You eat sweets without getting the calories you need. By doing so, your brain provokes you to eat more food throughout the day. Sugar substitutes can only help you lose weight in the short term, but sooner or later they will disturb your neural pathways, and every month you will need feel more and more sweet taste. Other than that, sweeteners disturb your microflora. A major study has shown that consuming saccharin even for 5 days leads to a very large growth of staphylococci and streptococci. And we move on to the next error and foods group, which is yeast dough. What is that? It's all the prepackaged pastry that you buy in stores and maybe you bake yourself. These include cookies, breads, scones, croissants, cakes, muffins. It's anything made from cereal flour, be it wheat, rye, barley, or rice flour. Why? They are all refined carbohydrates. What are refined carbohydrates? It means that after consuming these foods, they turn into sugar in your body after 40-45 minutes, and we already know how sugar affects premature aging, wrinkle formation, glycation products, and increased insulin levels in the blood. So if you want to keep pastries in your diet, search for nut flours instead. Avoid fast-digesting carbohydrates. There are wonderful alternatives today that are coconut flour, almond flour, cedar flour. It can be green buckwheat flour, an even better option is sprouted green buckwheat flour. It can be hemp flour, legume flour such as chickpea or lentil flour. There are many alternatives and they all are much healthier than wheat or rye flour. There is another problem with refined carbohydrates and that is oxidized cholesterol. Unfortunately, everyone tends to remove fats from their diet when they see a lipid metabolism disorder. But the first thing you should do is just eliminate refined carbohydrates. Why? Because excess glucose in blood is the reason why cholesterol gets oxidized. And you should remember that oxidized cholesterol is the third and most important cause of cardiovascular disease, stroke, heart attack, and atherosclerosis. This is because excess refined carbohydrates oxidize cholesterol. Cholesterol damages blood vessels, which leads to clogged blood vessels. People have been eating bread for thousands of years, but first they ate sourdough bread, second no sugar, and third not as much as modern men. If you have noticed a loss of energy when you eat a lot of sugar or sweets, like this video and I will tell you why it happens. In terms of biochemistry, we must remember that the processing of one molecule of sugar takes about 56 molecules of magnesium, as well as a huge amount of B vitamins, which you do not replenish. In doing so, you feel irritable, tired, unequal, with loss of energy and lack of energy. Why? Because you consume sweets. Like this video if you noticed the loss of energy after consuming sweets. We have listed the top 5 foods that negatively affect absolutely everyone, but there are also foods that negatively affect each of you individually. For example, it can be grapes, an apple or a tomato. We're all different. Leave a comment about all the foods that make you feel discomfort, and we will try to answer your questions. Thank you for watching the video. I'm Ksenia Chernaya and this is Pro Health Channel, the only YouTube channel where we talk about nutrition not in terms of weight loss but in terms of health.